Welcome. My name is Ursula, and I am a precinct committee person with the Lisle Township Democratic Organization. The LTDO is the local political force that makes a difference. We work to elect Democratic candidates and advocate for the Democratic issues that matter to the people of Lisle Township. This is our first virtual town hall. Today, we'll hear from 17 national, state, and local candidates, both live and recorded. We'll have some musical interludes and giveaways, too. Before we jump in, I'd like to share a few words from our presidential hopeful, Vice President Joe Biden.
The current president has cloaked American darkness for much too long. Too much anger, too much fear, too much division. Here and now, I give you my word. If you entrust me with the presidency, I will draw on the best of us, not the worst. I'll be an ally of the light, not the darkness. It's time for us, for we the people, to come together. United, we can and will overcome this season of darkness in America. For love is more powerful than hate. Hope is more powerful than fear. And light is more powerful than dark. This is our moment. This is our mission. History be able to say that the end of this chapter of American darkness began here. As love and hope and light join in the battle of the soul of the nation. And this is a battle we will win, and we'll do it together.
Can you imagine? Sanity, truth, and leadership. Welcome everyone to our virtual town hall featuring Who's on Your Ballot in Lisle Township, presented by LTDO.org, the Lisle Township Democratic Organization, welcoming voters from Bolingbrook, Downers Grove, Lisle, Naperville, and Woodridge. Be a voter. We want you to be informed about the candidates' positions on issues that matter to your life, both locally and nationally. If you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat box, and we'll be sure to have the appropriate candidate follow up with you. We'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned throughout the viewing for inspiration, giveaways, and other great information as we battle for the soul of our nation. Let's turn to who's on your ballot. First, you need to know your precinct number. Go to ltdo.org and click Forms. For the pictorial version, you can check on the map, or you can click on 2020 election and my precinct, and the first thing you will see is an address lookup. Search by your address, and you'll find your precinct number and your ballot. We've repeated this information in the chat box for your reference. Now, please welcome our first speaker.
Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us. It is what it is. Now, I understand that my message won't be heard by some people. We live in a nation that is deeply divided, and I am a Black woman speaking at the Democratic Convention. But enough of you know me by now. You know that I tell you exactly what I'm feeling. You know I hate politics, but you also know that I care about this nation. You know how much I care about all of our children. So if you take one thing from my words tonight, it is this. If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can and they will if we don't make a change in this election. If we have any hope of ending this chaos, we have got to vote for Joe Biden like our lives depend on it.
And we must vote for our first woman vice presidential candidate, Kamala Harris. I know Michelle is hard to follow, but who better than Ken Mejia-Beal, running for State Representative 42. Ken?
Sorry about that.
Hi, Ken. Go ahead.
Hello. Let me get into my light. So, it's just out knocking some doors. My name is Ken Mejia-Beal, and I am running for Illinois State Rep. I'm running on a platform of cleaner climate, stronger labor, and fiscal responsibility. A little bit about my background. I've been a property tax analyst for 13 years. In my side work, I'm a current council member for Howard Brown Health, one of Illinois' only pay-what-you-can healthcare providers. And I am also the NAACP's co-chair for the Climate Justice Committee. What I plan to do in this position is, number one, work on our property tax pension deficit issues. Number two, work on not just making medication more affordable, but really getting to the root of chronic illness, which means finding out causing so much chronic illness within our community and working on it. And number three, what I bring is representation for all, not just for the affluent or for those that can afford to come to a fundraiser or two, but for everyone in the community. Thank you.
Next up is Dagmara Avelar, running for State Representative 85.
How are you all? Thank you so much for having me. Just so you all know, right now we have like 3 events happening at the same time. We have a diaper drive in our campaign office. We just got our beautiful signs here. And again, my name is Dagmara D. Avelar, and I am so glad to be here with all of you. I am running to be the next state representative for the 85th district. And the 85th district, even though only about 10% of it is in DuPage County, I can tell you that it warms my heart to go to the areas of DuPage County that are part of the district, because it is people like the people who live in the district who share my values, who share the values of our community, which highlight diversity and just, being able to be treated with dignity and respect, that allows for somebody like me, an immigrant woman of color, to potentially be the next state representative of the suburban district. And I am so glad to do this. I am so glad to see you all. I know that COVID and the pandemic has been really tough on us. But if there's one thing that I want to, all of you to get out of my spiel right now, is that we can do this as long as we do it together. We can do this as long as we come from a place of respect and from a place of wanting to see everybody thrive and not just survive. So again, my name is Dagmara Avelar. I am the Democratic candidate for state representative for the 85th district. It is right here in case you don't remember the name.
Listeners, we are counting on your Democratic vote up and down the ballot. The safest way to vote is to vote early on a hand-marked paper ballot, hand-delivered to a drop box or mailed in the next week or so by October 15th. You can also go to the DuPage County Fairgrounds and vote in person on paper. Here's a short recap on voting by mail in DuPage.
Election. It will include instructions for voting by mail. If you would like to vote by mail instead of voting in person, you must submit a vote by mail application. The easiest method is to apply online on the DuPage County website. If you do not want to apply online, you can fill out the application on the mailer. You will need to sign the application and provide a phone number. When you have filled out the application, drop it in the mail to the County Clerk Election Division. No postage required. Once your vote by the mail application is received and processed, you will be mailed a ballot. Ballots will not begin being mailed until September 24th. It may take 4 to 5 business days to receive your ballot.
Welcome Terra Costa Howard, running for re-election as state representative.
I'm Terra Costa Howard. I am the state representative for the 48th district, which covers Glen Ellen, Lombard, and predominantly in Lisle, our downtown business district, and the homes around there. It is an honor to be here as always. It's different running for re-election than being a first-time candidate in that there's so many things that I had the honor of being a part of. As you know, I was part of the, well, I'm going to say it this way. In May, I was part of the House Democratic Women's Caucus who proposed and passed the legislation regarding expanding our mail-in voting system. So we want everyone to be a voter. In addition to that, we in the Women's Caucus, we're the prime freshmen, we're proud sponsors of the Women's Reproductive Health Act, and we work together with our colleagues who had been working on this bill for a long time to remind the women of Illinois that we trust them to make decisions about themselves and their health care. We want to expand our rights as women. We want to make sure we have a seat at that table every time. And the 19th Amendment means something to all of us and should mean something to all of you as we prepare to get ourselves out to the doors. Again, this is a crazy election time. And as you know, I'm running against Peter Breen once again, somebody who does not support probably the 19th Amendment, but we know he doesn't support women and women's health care, nor does he support health care for others. So as you are all out there preparing today to get out there to vote and support our candidates, I ask you to do a couple of things. One, volunteer some time. Many of you are precinct committeemen and are out dropping literature on doors. But if you could, please find the time to donate some time specifically to somebody's campaign. If that's just writing 20 postcards out for them and getting them out into the mail to constituents, that would be great. But we could all use canvassers, lit droppers, writing postcards, phone bankers. We need more help out here because truthfully, it's a lot different and we're not knocking those doors. And finally, I just want to say a big shout out to all the new candidates because particularly after what horrific things Amy Grant has said and the things that Peter Breen have said, yes, we can. And we are going to do that. I would have everybody's t-shirt, but Ken's is the only one I have. But I'm telling you guys, we need your help. We do not need hatred and anger and bigotry out on our streets. We need all of you to come out and help us knock those doors, drop that literature, and make those phone calls. Because yes, we can. TCH for 48. Dagmara, we need you back in. We need another woman with us. Anne Stava-Murray needs your help. Amy Chavez needs your help. And we hope we're going to have a Janet Yang Rohr out there with us too. We need your help because yes, we can. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you out on the streets.
Thank you, Tara. Next up, we have Janet Yang Rohr, running for State Representative 41.
I'm Janet Yang Rohr. I'm running for State Representative in the 41st District. This is a community where my husband and I both grew up, where we're raising our 3 kids, and where I'm currently a member of the Naperville 203 School Board. I've been in the investment industry for most of the last 20 years, and right now I'm the director of global data at Morningstar, and so my job is to stand up for savers, for retirees, and to make sure that working men and women have the tools and information they need to retire with dignity. And I'm running for state representative because I want to make sure that our community's values and our priorities are represented in Springfield. There's so much potential for things that we can do to move forward on making sure that everyone has access to quality education, affordable health care, and good working conditions. And as I and our volunteers have talked with thousands of community members around here, it's in this district, it's clear that these are the things that so many of us care about. And I know that so many of us watching this town hall really care about as well. These issues have come into especially sharp relief, I think, with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. At this point, we have a Senate Majority Leader who it looks like will be successful at ramming through a Trump Supreme Court nominee. It's completely hypocritical. It's completely unfair. But at the same time, we don't have to take it. We don't have to sit back and take it, because whatever happens at the national level, there's a lot that we can do to protect women's rights, women's reproductive health care rights in Illinois. We can protect access to good health care here in Illinois. And a Trump-dominated Supreme Court will make the states decide on a lot of these issues. The current representative in the 41st District, plus I know the opponents that a lot of us on this call are running against, they have shown where they stand on these issues. They have shown, they have voted against the Reproductive Health Act. They have voted against protecting us from insurance companies denying us coverage because of pre-existing conditions. And I know, and I think a lot of us know, that this is not what our community wants, and it's definitely not what the 41st District wants. And so we need to hold our leaders accountable for representing us and for delivering the results that matter to us. I'm asking for your vote to be that person, to be your next state representative. And I absolutely echo the amazing message from Tara that we all of us, all the candidates here would so appreciate your help to talk with voters and get that message across and make sure that people understand just the stakes that are involved here. And so whether that is, phone banking, text banking, writing postcards, that would be awesome. And I know all of us would so appreciate your help.
Thank you so much, Janet. Next, we have State Representative John Connor. John is running for State Senate in the 43rd.
Thank you very much, Ursula. Thank you to the Lisle Township Democratic Organization for hosting this. This is a fantastic service to all the voters within Lisle Township. And so I very much want to thank you for that. Unfortunately, all the candidates who've spoken prior have pretty much taken my thunder. So I'm just going to mention a couple things and make the same request for your assistance that they have. So I was a career prosecutor up until Trump was elected. I had a specialty in digital forensic evidence, and the main case that I did that kind of put me onto the map was I ran the special grand jury in the Drew Peterson investigation and then the subsequent prosecution back in 2012. And it was in that capacity as a prosecutor, particularly in a murder trial that I conducted in 2015 involving drive-by shooting outside of a boxing club that really basically told me we're failing. We're failing to help the most vulnerable communities. We're failing to provide an education that allows people to, basically know that there is a life outside of their neighborhood and outside of, gangs, crime, and violence. We were failing in our investments, and so where I was ending up prosecuting cases for situations that could easily have been avoided if criminal justice reform had gone a little further earlier, if we had improved the way that we fund our schools. I became the 85th District State Representative in June of 2017, and very soon thereafter we passed the landmark evidence-based funding reform model, which changes how we fund schools in Illinois and starts to free your zip code from being trapped as far as what type of funding your school gets. And it was a sea change as far as funding education in Illinois. Those are the types of things that I signed on to participate in. I also supported the Reproductive Health Care Act and was a co-sponsor on that. Politicians, and particularly men, should not be telling women what to do with their bodies, and I was a strong supporter of that. I also sit on the Broadband Advisory Council for the governor, trying to expand high-speed internet access. I got on that even before COVID, but COVID has highlighted the need for equitable access to the internet throughout the state, and that's not what we have now. Obviously, with healthcare, as some of the other candidates talked about, the idea of pre-existing conditions causing you to lose your healthcare is just a terrifying one for the future. And I intend to continue to have input on criminal justice reform, because we are failing these generations that are coming up now in terms of helping them to choose a life, outside of a problematic one. Currently, I was on 5 of the committees. It was the appropriations committees that I learned the most about, because where we put our money tells where our values are. And previously, I don't think we were doing an adequate job of making education a priority, as well as healthcare. And
I knew I shouldn't have done it.
I knew there should have been some movement, and we're heading in that direction now. So to echo everyone else, we need your help. Outreach Circle has been a tool that Grace Donnelly and Connor Culleton, who are both working on my campaign, have been pushing. I would ask everyone here, please join Outreach Circle and help our campaign. I don't know what other campaigns are using it. I know many of the state Senate races are using it as well. Please go on, look for the candidates that you want to support, and join their Outreach Circle. And if you, just to give you a little background on me, so I live down in Lockport, which is the southern end of the district. The district includes basically everything that Dagmara already described. She's running for my current state representative seat, and the Senate seat includes Joliet as well, all the way down to Elwood. So I live in Lockport with my wife Julie and my 3 sons, Colin, Jack, and Charlie, and our dog Circe. And I look forward to serving you as the 43rd state senator, and to continue to push to make Illinois a more open and equitable state. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Anne Stava-Murray, who is running for re-election for State Representative 81.
So I'm Anne Stava-Murray. I live in Naperville. My district covers Naperville, Woodridge, Downers Grove, a little bit of Darien, Lisle, Westmont, and Bolingbrook. And so I have a lot of the similar things that I've worked on to John Connor in terms of the past couple of years. I was very lucky. This is my first term in office. And before I was in office, I was actually running the Naperville Women's March Action. And I got really involved after the 2016 election and was very alarmed at what was happening, not only on the national level, but when I went to meet with my state representative, he didn't seem to reflect a lot of the values that I saw between my neighbors and myself. And so in terms of that, he seemed sort of just to do what his party told him to do, and not that he was necessarily listening to us. So I've made it a really big priority to be listening to constituents, to work with them. And I've been able to have some successes with that in getting legislation that constituents have actually brought to me passed. And I've also had the honor of working on some bigger pieces of legislation. So one of the smaller things that I've worked on actually is something that helped parents make sure that parents have the right to go to meetings at their children's school. So if they have to miss work, that they have job protections and job coverage. And I think making sure that we have better job protections and coverage for parents, as well as anti-discrimination in the workplace, is something that's really important to me. And I have bills around that as well. I was very honored to be able to to vote for the $15 minimum wage that we just increased. I was excited to be one of the freshman women who brought the RHA, the Reproductive Health Act, back up. And for those who are unfamiliar with that, that's the law that we passed in 2019 that says that if Roe versus Wade is overturned, that abortion will still be legal in the state of Illinois and protected as a right. So I was instrumental with my colleagues who are also freshman women in bringing that forward, getting the count and making sure that we had the votes for that to pass. A lot of other priorities that I have to do with ethics reform. I didn't vote for the speaker last time. I'm not going to vote for him again. I'm deeply concerned about some of the corruption issues that we've been hearing about. And I think that there's a lot of areas that we could have ethics reform in our state that would strengthen us as Democrats. And so I think that's something that's very important. And then finally, civil rights have been incredibly important to me. So I was a commissioner on the Board of Fire and Police in Naperville prior to becoming a state representative. And that is because I've had a laser-like focus on police reform for the past several years. And so when the most recent movement with George Floyd happened, I was prepared, and I actually met with several of my municipalities with recommendations on how they might be able to change policing, as well as I'm working on introducing bills and working with the Black Caucus on their veto session initiatives having to do with the Black Lives Matter movement and enhancing police accountability. And so my opponent has sort of painted me as a broad strokes, like defund the police, which I think is a disservice to the conversation that we're having around policing, because right now what we're talking about is transparency in policing, how police, when the quote unquote bad apples make bad decisions, how those are then held accountable or not accountable. And so I'm for increasing accountability there. And I think there's a lot of great work to be done in that area, and I'm proud to work with my colleagues in furthering that. So those are really the key things. The final thing that I'll note is also the environment. I'm grateful to be endorsed by the Sierra Club. The environment is also a large priority of mine, and has been since I first got in office, signed on to all of the Sierra Club bills. And there's a great bill that's probably coming up in veto session called CEJA, which is the Clean Energy Jobs Act. And this is going to help us get to 100% renewable energy as a state by 2050.
Thank you very much, Anne.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Diane. Diane has an inspirational video for us next.
There will be better days. 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 Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. 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 Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. There will be better days. Let the wave wash over. There will be better days. 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 better days. There will be 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 better days.
It's time for our first mask giveaway. We have randomly selected a winner from today's Zoom participants for a patriotic face mask. Our first winner is Stephen Brug. Congratulations. Please put your email in the chat and we will contact you. Please be safe and get out the vote. Now we are pleased to welcome Congressman Bill Foster from District 11.
Well, hello. Am I audible and visible here?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I think I'm not going to sing for you, but there's a quick version of that inspirational video that was something that was sent on a text chain that my family circulates and as an expression of frustration, which is basically it said, "Can't we just fast forward to the part where Trump's in jail and we all have a vaccine?" All right. And that's there's a lot of that feeling. So just a quick update about what's happening. I serve on 3 committees in Washington. The first, I am the chair of the Investigations Committee, a subcommittee of the Science Committee, which is sort of a sleepy thing because there's so little abuse of science to investigate in this administration. But we've done a variety of things. Most recently, actually, was to look at the abuse. We had a hearing on the abuse of health statistics by political appointees at the Center for Disease Control and in HHS. There's a bunch of really bad things that have been done by basically bypassing the traditional health statistics, things like COVID deaths, for example. Got reported up through the CDC, and the Trump administration has installed over the head of the CDC is something that to intercept all of the numbers and to do something that we don't entirely trust them with on those numbers. And so that's really bad because when you have incorrect information going to decision makers, governors, mayors, everything else, it's, people will die as a result of that. Anyway, so we had some very interesting hearings on that. The other committee I'm on is Financial Services Committee. And there, everyone looks at the stock market and says, oh, things are probably okay. Because the stock market's okay, but there is a lot of stress building up in the financial services industry, having to do with, you'll go downtown and you see the closed restaurants and the closed businesses, or you talk to your friends who are, have been laid off or reduced hours. And there's a lot of stress in normal society and in small businesses. And the truth is that a lot of the small businesses, restaurants and others, are just not going to make it through this. And when a business fails, that is debt that lands on a bank's balance sheet when they can't pay back the bank loan. And so that this is building up stress in the banking system. At some point, this may turn into a financial crisis. And so the Federal Reserve has been keeping their eye on this very carefully. We've had public meetings, and I've also had individual briefings with the very senior people in the Federal Reserve, trying to understand at what point both the giant banks and thousands of small banks may fail. Because this will be, we don't want to be blindsided the way we were with the financial crisis 10 years ago. And so this is something that I think we're all keeping a very, very careful eye on. The other thing, of course, is that the COVID relief bills are being administered by a combination of the Small Business Administration and the Treasury Department, and we have oversight over the Treasury Department. So we've been hauling in Mnuchin and others in the Treasury Department. You know, a lot of it actually worked pretty well. The PPP program, which provided forgivable loans to small businesses, worked pretty well at helping, at least initially helping, a large number of the small businesses have a path to survival. But it's not clear. There are already problems with the qualifying for having those loans forgiven, and a lot of interest in simplifying the paperwork for the smallest of the businesses, so they don't have to sit there and document, you know, months of payroll. And many of them are so small they do the payroll themselves or have a friend do it, and they can't just sit there and ask their payroll processing company to go give them documentation, you know, that sort of thing. And so we're trying to make sure that works, especially for the smallest of the businesses. So a lot of issues there for big and small entities and financial services. The third thing that I'm on is the COVID, the select committee to oversee the response to the COVID crisis. And this, frankly, has been using up most of my time. I was put on there by Speaker Pelosi, I guess because they thought there are enough scientific issues in our COVID response that they should, it's not a bad choice of having at least one scientist on it. And I'm doing several things there. There's sort of three big buckets of work, one of which is to look backward at all the mistakes that have been made. You know, frankly, that has been a lower priority because we're trying to make sure that, you know, save lives now and make sure things work. But we're starting to actually look back at that. There was a very big report that just got issued by the committee staff and others that identified basically 47 things that had been done wrong, significant things that had been done wrong by the Trump administration. So that part is starting. The main line of effort is just making sure that the roughly $2 trillion of CARES Act money is going where Congress and the people intended it to. And it's not perfect. And we're finding a fair number of abuses. The biggest problem initially was that all of the big businesses got in line for PPP money, and then it ran out, and the small businesses never qualified. That got fixed largely, and so now the issue is that we just have to extend and expand those programs. That was done in the HEROES Act and in the upgraded HEROES Act that we just passed recently. But so far, the Republicans haven't agreed to, you know, a comprehensive plan to deal with this. And those right now, I just flew back home last night from DC, and I'm going to be back in Illinois until either the election or we come up with a deal, and then we'll have votes in Washington when that happens. But that may not happen, and especially this latest development with Trump. The third thing that I'm spending a lot of time on in that response is overseeing this Operation Warp Speed. This is the rapid development of vaccines and therapeutics, and there is a lot to be said about that. The first thing is that most of the great work that is done in that regard is done by the career professionals inside, you know, the NIH, the HHS generally, Health and Human Services generally. We yesterday had the head of HHS, Secretary Azar, in front of our committee, where you know, we had some rather feisty exchanges about a variety of things, including you know, his claims that everything was rosy in their response and everything was rosy in their future planning, which is manifestly false. That, you know, just to give one example of it, and the reason I was actually yanked off on the telephone if you're watching me a moment ago. There's a big problem that is going to be looming. You all saw that President Trump had an experimental therapy, these antibody therapeutics. Those, since the very start of these pandemic, people believe those are more likely than not to work. And so my belief is that the reason he got those is that they've already seen clinical trial results that show they're effective. The difficulty is that Operation Warp Speed has not reserved anything like the production capacity that we need to satisfy the demand. When we all of a sudden have, yes, there's this wonderful miracle cure so when you test positive, you can pretty much avoid bad effects from this. And then you find out that there's a huge shortage because we have not planned ahead for the likely demand. There's going to be a political firestorm about this. And so I had before the hearing, I had a private phone call with Secretary Azar on this thing, and things are still settling regards to that. But this is the next thing I'm worried about, even more than all of the debates over distributions of vaccines and so on. Anyway, I'm probably in danger of exceeding my time allotment here, but I just want to humbly ask for your vote and your support to return to Congress. This is a hell of a time to be serving, and it's my apologies. I haven't spent as much time on my campaigns as I usually do, and outreach to all of my political supporters. But I just want to thank you, and I am thrilled just looking at the progress that Democrats have made, across this area. It's really wonderful to see, and you're all a big part of that. So thank you all.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Representative Foster. We need as many scientists as we can get out.
Well, I think you have one next on the agenda. So.
Oh, next we have Dick Durbin on the agenda.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll wait on him. Well, it's Sean. I think I saw on your agenda.
Yeah, Sean is coming up too.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Well, Shirley.
But I'm thinking about how far Lisle Township and DuPage County has come in time that I've been in politics. It was once the vast wasteland when it came to Democrats, and now take a look around. Bill Foster, Sean Casten, Lauren Underwood. It's amazing commentary on where Lisle Township is today. And of course, we want to make sure that Lisle Township is going to be for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and maybe even support me for re-election. I think that would be a great honor if you would consider being part of that effort. Can't take it for granted, though. We've got to take our message to people. And we can't assume they're going to show up. We've got to make sure they show up. And it means a little extra effort. Think of all the people in the last 3.5 years that you've had a conversation with about how bad this president is. Now start calling a few of them, saying, I hope you're going to vote this time, and I hope some of your friends and family will vote with you. Lisle Township, let's get on to victory in 2020. Thanks for coming together today and all the work that you do.
Please welcome Congressman Sean Casten, running to retain his seat in Illinois District 6 for the Federal House of Representatives.
Hello all, it's sort of nice to see you. It's a bummer to not actually be seeing you and doing this over Zoom, but here we are. Thank you all for doing this and hosting. An honor to follow Senator Durbin and Congressman Foster. As you all know, and so many of you played a huge part in, I ran for this seat, 2 years ago after never spending any time in politics. Because I didn't want to be represented by people who would politicize science and fetishize ignorance. And 2 years ago, that conversation was about climate change, that of course is how I've spent the last 20 years of my life. It was also about a tax bill that did the thing that everybody who actually looked at the math predicted it would do, namely throw a $1.5 trillion hole in our budget. And it was about the repeal of the ACA that we absolutely knew if you take away people's health care, you are going to kill Americans. We knew all of that, and that was what was on the ballot last election. And I would echo what Senator Durbin said and Congressman Foster. Thank goodness we took the House, because we got the opportunity to at least start the process of pushing back on those things. One of the first votes we took was to give ourselves the authority to defend the ACA in court. And that's one of these things that I think still doesn't get quite enough attention. And by the way, the oral arguments going to the Supreme Court on November 10th are sort of part of all that. But the Attorney General of the United States chose not to defend the laws of the United States. We lose sight of this because we viewed this as political. You don't get to choose when you're the president which laws you want to enforce. You have to enforce all the laws because Congress makes the laws. But we did that when we came in. I got the privilege to end up serving on several of the same committees as Congressman Foster. Both of our official committee assignments are the Science, Space, and Technology Committee on Financial Services. I won't repeat everything that he has said about that. And then he's on the Select Committee on Coronavirus Oversight. I'm on the Select Committee on the Climate Crisis. On financial services, have continued to push financial disclosures for climate-related issues. So have led in the House a bill that Senator Warren is leading on the other side of the Hill to require public companies to disclose their contributions to climate change and the risks they bear in a consistent fashion. And we had a really interesting hearing, I think you can find it online on the Climate Committee earlier this week, that the Commodity Future Trading Corporation, Commissioner Benham, Trump-appointed commissioner, has recommended not only that they do that, but in the course of my discussions with him, has said that the SEC has both the authority to regulate, to do exactly what we're doing in that bill, and went on to say that he thought that they actually have the obligation to do so, even in the absence of us passing that legislation. This is a sea change that would bring the United States up to the level that that the rest of the world already is, let's be honest. But when I went to Madrid and we met with the folks leading the European effort, they have been pushing for the same thing for some time. So fairly excited about that. On the Science Committee, got a bill through on the Clean Industrial Technology Act to put research into figuring out how to decarbonize industries that we have no idea how to decarbonize right now. How do you make steel without coal? How do you make fertilizer without natural gas? How do you make silicon that we need to make solar panels without coal? Chemically, we don't know how to do that. So put together about a $600 billion research program to 600 million, I'm sorry, to stand up an agency in DOE to do that. Another one to deploy energy storage around the grid, because we've had such a hard time installing transmission that the advances in renewable energy are now paced by our ability to get the energy from where it's generated to where it's consumed. And by doing targeted storage around the grid, can essentially increase our ability to benefit from zero carbon energy. Both of those bills were included in the energy bill that we just passed on the floor last week. So 2 weeks ago, time flies, it was 1 or 2 weeks ago. And we'll keep pushing. But now let's just shift to this election. Remember how we started. I don't want to be represented, I don't think any of us want to be represented by people who politicize science and fetishize ignorance. And in the last 48 hours, we have found out that 3 senators, the president, the first lady, campaign manager Chris Christie, Kellyanne Conway, Hope Hicks, whatever their titles are, have tested positive for COVID. And by the time I get off this call and refresh Twitter, we'll probably find several more. And they have tested, this is nothing to celebrate. Let us be clear. It's a tragedy. I don't care who you are, what your politics are, what your race is. I don't want to lose any more Americans. And yet 7.3 million people have been infected. 208,000 Americans are dead. We have 4% of the world's population, 20% of the fatalities. And why? Because we've politicized science and fetishized ignorance. And it is such a tragedy to be in this moment and to realize that we have still not learned from those same mistakes. And if COVID is a rifle shot into a crowd, climate change is a tsunami. And all that's coming through. But I want to give you a cause for some optimism. After Trump was elected, people didn't panic. People didn't abandon our democracy. They mobilized. We had the largest mobilization in our history, marching for women, marching for science, more recently marching for Black Lives Matter. We had the biggest freshman class since Watergate, the most diverse on every metric, racial, gender, sexuality, ideologically. I mean, think about it. We've got a Democratic Party now that runs from an AOC to a Joe Manchin, and wherever you sit on that spectrum, it speaks volumes of the Democratic Party. That as long as you are serious and engaged and agree that we have to, as a country, figure out how to get from A to B, we can have really healthy debate about the best way to get there. And what is the equivalent ideological diversity across the aisle from, I don't know, Peter King to Steve King? There's no equivalent. And there is a beauty there, because what it means is that however tense and nervous and scared we are in this moment, take great comfort from the fact that the overwhelming majority of American people are good people. And every single person in Washington knows that. And that's why it has become so partisan to have a free and fair election. Because for one party, that is a good thing. For the other party, it is petrifying. It is why they are working so hard to pack the courts, because that is the last entity they might control that will not be subject to democratic control until, justices, die or choose to retire. That's frightening, but it's a testament to the character of the American people. So the challenge that puts to all of us is to continue that beautiful civic action that started on November 4th, 2016. You got to get out, you got to stay engaged, you got to vote, you got to get your friends to vote, you've got to make sure that your friends and neighbors, whether or not you agree with them politically, make sure they are educated. Because if you don't trust people to be educated and vote, then you fundamentally don't trust democracy. And I do, and I know you all do. We need to set a goal that on the day after the election, we're not sitting there saying, oh good, we won. We're sitting there saying, we won in a landslide with a mandate that reminds everybody of the goodness of the American people. And that if you are going to run for elected office with the values of Donald Trump, there is no room for you in American politics. If you are going to run for office with the values of Jeannie Ives, there is no room for you in American politics. If you are going to run for office with the values of Amy Grant running against my good friend Ken Mejia-Beal, who's out there saying that there's too many people in the Congressional Black Caucus, there is no room for you in American politics. So I thank you for all that you're doing. I obviously would be grateful for your support, for me, for everybody else who's here, but more than anything else, for democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Casten. Have you made your plan to vote? Please be a voter.
Hello, Illinois. If you want to vote, first, you need to make sure that you're registered. There's a link in the description where you can check your registration status right now. If you aren't registered, or if you've moved since the last time you voted, you can register online using the link in the description as long as you have an Illinois driver's license. If you don't have an Illinois license, maybe you don't drive or you're a college student from another state, you'll go to the same registration website, but at the end, you have to print out the form and mail it in with another form of ID. The deadline to register online or by mail is October 18th, but if you missed it, don't panic. You can still register in person all the way through Election Day by going to a grace period registration location in your county. There's a link to where you can look up those locations below. If you don't see any, it's probably because the deadline to register by mail and online hasn't passed yet. Don't worry, the sites get updated as Election Day gets closer. When you go to register in person, you'll need to bring 2 forms of ID with you: a photo ID of any kind, including student IDs, and a piece of mail that has your name and current address on it, like a bank statement, utility bill, or paycheck. Even a copy of your lease will work. Once you're registered, you get to vote, unless this is both your first time voting and you registered by mail. Anyone in Illinois can vote by mail, otherwise known as voting absentee, for any reason. Starting in August, you can go to the link in the description to download a form, fill it out, and mail it to the address on the form to request a mail ballot. Illinois accepts mail ballot requests up until October 29th, but the sooner you apply, the sooner you get your ballot, and the longer you have to look it over and make your decisions. Then all you have to do is mail your ballot back in so that it's received by November 3rd. You can also vote early in person from September 22nd through November 2nd. The hours and locations vary by county, so there's a link in the description where you can choose your county and it will tell you when and where you can vote early. If you're voting on Election Day, November 3rd, polls are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and you can figure out where to go to vote at the link in the description. You shouldn't need to bring an ID with you as long as you provided one when you registered, but if you're not sure, it won't hurt to bring one of the 2 forms of ID I mentioned earlier, just in case. Before you go vote, you can look at a sample ballot ahead of time on your county election authority's website. It'll tell you everything that you'll be able to vote for in the elections besides the president. You don't have to vote for every single thing on the ballot for it to count, but those local elections really do matter. So it's a pretty good idea to look at a sample ballot and do some research on the candidates and ballot measures first. You can even print it out or take a screenshot and bring it to the polls with you so that you can be sure you remember how you want to vote.
Make your plan. Vote on a hand-marked paper ballot and hand deliver or mail, or vote early in person, or vote in person on Election Day if you want, but vote. And here is Diane Hewitt on why voting in local elections matters.
Hi. So obviously, Lisle Township Democratic Organization really fully believes in making sure that we get all of the people, all the candidates that you have just seen elected. And even the candidates as big as Dick Durbin and Joe Biden, we need your help locally. And everybody votes in the precincts where they live locally. That being said, that the county board candidates that we're about to highlight the most are really some of the candidates that affect your daily life the most, because they're really voting on the roads that you drive on, and they're also really having to do with the budgets that we really use on a more day-to-day level. And then we also want to remind people that we're straddling both the 2020 elections and the 2021 elections. So we're still looking for candidates, and we really need candidates that will help run in the municipal elections, the park boards, the library boards, and all the different township wide elections that we're really looking for. So we just want to encourage you all that local elections are so important, and we're about to hear a whole lot more from a lot of local candidates. So, and also encourage you that LTDO is a wonderful organization that can help connect you with the local candidates and the national issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll have a volunteer follow up with you. Next up is Paula Deacon Garcia, running for DuPage County Board 2.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be here. My name is Paula Deacon Garcia. I am running for County Board District 2. Let me tell you a little bit about myself if you haven't met me before. I've been a member of LTDO since 2016, so I've been around. I was actually I'm an elected precinct committee person for Precinct 15 here in Lisle. I am also, I was a delegate there for a while for LTDO, but let me tell you about what my experience is and what I'm going to be bringing to the county board. I have 20 plus years of experience as a municipal worker. I've worked in the building department. I'm now working for customer service because we combined. So my first job is to say, how can I help you? And along with that, I have community service experience. So what I've done with that is I am now the chair of the Lisle Township Food Pantry Committee. And what we do with that was it's actually the vegetable garden that grows all the vegetables for the food pantry. So my concern and care is for the citizens of DuPage County. I've been attending the DuPage County board meetings for the past year and a half, in person when I could, before the COVID hit, and now I'm watching them online. And the one thing that I'm finding is the person that I'm running against does not represent my values at all. There's a lot of things that he's done that I don't agree with. One of the main things I can tell you is that he doesn't say anything at the boards. He doesn't say anything to board meetings. He doesn't actually, I'm not sure he reads the packets. But one thing I will do is speak out, and I will find out what the facts are. I will find out what needs to be done for the county. There's so many things that are important. Making DuPage County #1 in sustainability, making sure we're healthy. Let's be on the same page when we're talking about COVID-19. Let's all wear a mask. I mean, they've now put plexiglass around the board members, and when I'm watching the board meetings, they all think it's really funny, and they stand up, take their masks off, and talk over the plexiglass. That's not, we're finding that out from what's happening on the federal level. That's just not even science making sense. As Congressman Casten and Congressman Foster said, it's ridiculous. And so let's make our area safe. Let's start local and let's be safe here. Another one that I want to be focused on, I have 10 plus years of being a certified floodplain manager. And so I want to concentrate basically on the stormwater issues. Flooding is an issue here because of climate change. They're all interrelated. And so I'm going to be working on that to try to hopefully the flooding issues we can get taken care of and find answers, because that's what we're looking for is answers. It seems like a lot of it's just follow leader on the board right now. It's whatever the chairman says, that's how they vote. And I just don't think that that's right. I'm not going to be somebody who does that. I'm going to look at what the best answer is for the citizens of DuPage. So I'm asking you to actually hopefully vote for me on November 3rd, or if you're like me, I've already voted for myself. So it's very cool. So vote by mail. So vote by mail, vote early, And I thank you for all the support I've gotten from the LTDO already. And I'm looking forward to being your representative on the county board. So thank you for giving me the time to speak at this wonderful event. Thank you.
Let's turn the spotlight over to Amy Chavez, running for DuPage County Board 5. Amy?
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Chavez. I'm running in District 5 for the county board, which includes Naperville, Aurora, Lisle, Warrenville, and Woodridge. So huge shout out to LTDO for doing this amazing event. And thank you to all the PCs that are on board as well. We could not do this without your boots on the ground and all the hard work that you all have put in for all these candidates that are on the call. So thank you. I'm a business leader, I'm a volunteer, I'm a wife, I'm a mom to 12-year-old boy-girl twins that go to Washington Junior High right down here in Naperville. I have a heart for activism and service. I'm the co-founder of We Are One Naperville, which is an online forum for inclusion and unity through action. We now have over 1,500 members strong, and that's something I'm really proud of. A little bit kind of like Paula talked about, our present reality is one in which the value of adaptable local government is more important than ever. We've seen the failure of our federal arm to do the real work of protecting our families in this COVID crisis, and all the heavy lifting is now left to our local arms. So I'm the best candidate to tackle this challenge because I have a business background. I'm a collaborative leader. My ability, my experience has allowed me to handle really big budgets, which is a lot of what the county board does. So I handled hundreds of millions of dollars in the corporate world. So handling a big budget like the county board is not something that's daunting to me. And frankly, we're going to need to focus on that budget as we tackle COVID, because there's going to be a lot of shifting of resources to make sure that we hit this pandemic head on and we get it under control, because the only way to get our economy back on the right track is to first handle the pandemic. Otherwise, we're going to be in starts and stops with our economy. And from a business perspective, we just can't put that burden on our local businesses. In addition, something I'm passionate about is tackling this issue that's come up nationally and is growing in momentum, which of course is an unfortunate scenario, but we've had racial tensions in our country. And that is something that is going to have to be addressed at the DuPage County level, especially with our sheriff's office. I'm going to be an advocate for more citizen oversight of the sheriff's office. I think that we have to work to have better representation in these third-party evaluations. We need to have our representation actually reflect our county. And not only do we need that when we're looking at these oversight boards, but we also need to look at that when we look at who is DuPage County hiring, and does it truly reflect the diverse community that we have. And that means investing in diversity training. It means we have to root out unconscious bias. It means that we have to dig deep into our community to make sure that we are recruiting from groups in our community that are kind of tough for us to access. So we have to dig deep and go to those areas so that our representation and on the county board, but also every part of DuPage County Sheriff's Office and even the different departments reflect our community. We are at an exciting point with this race. We're down to the last month, and so we could use some help out there still. We are doing a phone bank for my campaign every Tuesday night, so I would love it if you all would jump on Facebook and go to Amy Chavez for DuPage County Board. Join one of our Facebooks. We're down to the, or not Facebooks, join one of our phone banks because we're down to the last 4. And really that's the best way for us to impact voters at this stage, is to give them a call and tell them why to vote for these wonderful candidates. I'm overlapping completely with Barb O'Mara, so you'll be making the calls for both she and I. We also are going to do a day of action or a weekend of action next weekend. We're going to try to get out those last 5,000 pieces of lit that we have. We want to drop those off at doors. My opponent has been papering the town because, let's face it, they don't have the resources. They don't have these amazing PCs like we do at LTDO. So he is just hoping with this random strategy that it will work, but I don't want him to get one single voter from that. So we've got to hit that head on. We've got signs. I've got about 6 more car magnets if anyone wants to throw this on for the next month. So put it in the chat. We'll get it to you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
And now let's hear from Gail Cabala-Lowry, running for DuPage County Board 3.
Good evening. Thank you. Well, it's not evening yet. It feels that way. I got up early to work the farmer's market this morning. But I want to thank you all for having me here today. My name is Gail Cabala-Lowry. I'm running for a seat on the DuPage County Board in 3. I am a challenger in this race, and the main reason I'm running is to help make the county more sustainable. I have over 25 years as experience as a licensed architect. I'm certified as a lead green associate. I hold a Master of Science from the University of Illinois School of Agriculture, Consumer, and Environmental Science. I will also add that my passion lies with the land use issues. And we face so many global challenges that affect us on a county level, and we make decisions on a county level that have an impact worldwide. I'm talking about problems such as the climate crisis, stormwater management, and species decline. All of those problems have been caused in no small part by poor land use decisions. We're paving over our life-sustaining green spaces. We're fragmenting the habitats of our plants and our wildlife. We're causing flooding due to not enough green space to percolate stormwater. And we're removing trees that we need to take the CO2 out of our atmosphere. These problems might all sound too big to be remedied by any decision made at a county board level, but the fact of the matter is that land use decisions are not made in one fell swoop on a national level. Instead, they're made at a local level, frequently one piece of property at a time. And it's important for our governing bodies to understand that our ecosystem depends on plant life, and yet many local communities, including the DuPage County Board, still continue to make decisions that increase paved area and decrease green space. This really needs to stop. Many cities across the country recognize this and are now using green infrastructure plans to reverse those trends. If I'm elected, I'll work to make sure our ordinances and our land use decisions support the goals of the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning Go-To 2040 plan. And I would collaborate with the DuPage County Forest Preserve districts and the many municipalities to work together towards a sustainable county. I'll bring my knowledge of planning, zoning, and environmental design to the county board discussion. And I believe this experience will be an asset to the county, especially because there are no other architects on the county board to bring this experience to the process. As a former owner of an environmentally based design firm, this is what motivated me to run for the county office. I want to work in this capacity as an advocate for a sustainable DuPage. I'm asking for your votes so I can do that. And if you'd like to help, please visit my website, gail-cabala-lowry.org, where you can volunteer, request a sign, or just communicate with me and tell me what issues matter to you the most. Thank you so much.
And now we have Greg Schwartzy running for DuPage County Board 6.
Public servant. I've been a Rotarian. I've been in the Lions Club. I've coached youth sports and I've taught Sunday school. I'm also serving in my 27th year as a local firefighter paramedic, and I'm in my 4th term as a Carroll Stream Village trustee. It's in these roles that I've seen firsthand the challenges our residents face on a daily basis, from senior health and living issues to the frontline effects of the opioid crisis to the struggle of working class families trying to make ends meet. I will use my record of governing in a nonpartisan way to maintain fiscal responsibility, advocate for environmental initiatives and social services, and of course, public safety. Thank you for trusting me to be a new, fresh voice on the DuPage County Board, and I humbly ask for your vote this fall.
There's something happening here. A shift is coming, but it begins with us and our vote.
There's something happening here, but it ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to do right. Think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. This battle line's being drawn. Nobody's right, everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind. So much resistance from behind. Gotta stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Paranoia strikes deep into your life. It will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Yes, the bottom line, the man come and take you away. You do what's next. Everybody knows what's going on. Look around. Everybody knows what's going on.
Please welcome Barbara O'Meara, running for Forest Preserve District 5. Barbara?
Okay, I unmuted myself. All right, thanks. Great thing this morning, gang. Thanks for doing this. And I think it's important that everyone knows all these county people that are running, whether it's for the board or the Forest Preserve, we depend so much on institutions like LTDO and NTDO and the Wheatland Democrats and the DuPage. It's amazing to me that you go to these meetings and we've gone from a smattering of 8 people in 2010 and now you're getting 50, 60, 70 people to a meeting when we could have meetings. And I just want to emphasize that every one of you that shows up at those meetings or on those Zoom calls, it does matter because you're there, you're listening, and it makes a huge difference to every one of us that's out there running. Come on, NTDO, LTDO, they covered every precinct. They dropped lit everywhere for us. And that's huge. I'm sitting here doing postcards right now with labels that magically appeared because I requested them through LTDO. It's that type of engagement at the local level that not only assists us, but lifts us up and gives us the confidence in order to run. And it's amazing. We've got so many people that have tried to help this year, so many people that are out there doing stuff for us. I drive up and down the roads and I go, wow, there's my sign. Wow, there's Amy's sign. Wow, there's everybody's sign. And I'm thinking, I don't know those people. I don't know who lives here. And yet we have 300 signs out there. I'm running for the Forest Preserve of DuPage County because 4 years ago, nobody ran against a sitting Republican incumbent. And it's so important that we do that we put people out there, that you take that chance. And it's hard to say, I'm qualified. It's hard to say, I'm the person to do that. It's hard to say, I need to go out there. I knew I had to after 4 years ago, and especially after that election. And that has, as Sean Casten said, that has empowered us like we have never been empowered before. We've never had the precincts covered like we have now. And we've never had the amount of people running. Here we are in DuPage. We've got 42 positions. We've got 41 Democrats running. It is absolutely unbelievable that this is how far we've come in this short of a period of time. And look at every Democrat that's running. They're all qualified for what they're running for. And that is huge because you have to be qualified when you're a Democrat because we hold ourselves to a higher standard. I don't want to say that they're unqualified, but sometimes Republicans run because, oh, we knew somebody, or, oh, I'm a buddy of his. That's not how we handle it in the Democratic Party. We make sure that we're qualified. We make sure that the people that we're running are qualified, and then we back them. I want to thank everybody who's done anything, written a postcard, put out a sign, walked a precinct, because it means so much to me. I know it means so much to Amy. I know it means so much to every one of these candidates because at the county levels before, we weren't getting that kind of support. And now we have it, and it's been wonderful this year. And so, am I qualified? Absolutely. I wouldn't be running. I've got 30 years of environmental health behind me. I listen to these county board members talking about the environment, climate change. What can we do? We need to partner together. That's going to be how we move this forward. The Forest Preserve has never had a Democratic majority in the entire time that it's been here for 100 years. We can do that this year with Tina Tyson-Dunne, Barb O'Meara, and Jeff Garris. That's amazing. Okay, I love all of you. I thank you that you helped us. It's been great. We got to go through this next few weeks. We really got to hit it. Thanks.
Now welcome Tina Tyson-Dunne, running for Forest Reserve District 2.
Hi, I first want to apologize. I am at a recycling event in Milton Township that Scarce is running, and of course the Shred It truck just started up behind me. So I apologize if it's a little noisy here. But I want to thank LTDO for hosting this. This is a great event. I've had my Bluetooth on, listening to it all morning, and just jumped on the Zoom just shortly ago because I've been directing traffic for over 300 people that have come to recycle today. So it's a great thing, not in my district, but I'm all for getting people to care about our environment and recycle. It's a hard thing coming after Barb. Barb is an amazing speaker and such an awesome person. But I want to just basically mimic exactly what she's saying. Thank you, everybody who's gone out there and help walk lit. I know people aren't really knocking, many people aren't knocking, but a huge thank you to everybody who has helped all of us up and down the ballot. We can't do this without the help of all of you, the great organizations, the townships, LTDO, you've been great, all the PCs, wonderful. Thank you so much for all of your help. We do have, as Barb said, we have 3 great candidates for Forest Preserve, and I think we have a really great shot at bringing the majority. So with all of your help, I think we're going to get there. I'm trying to keep encouraging people to trust the vote by mail system. We have a lot of people showing up and changing their ballots at the commission. So just keep the messaging out there and let people know their options. And I think, so many people have already voted. It's pretty amazing to see how many people are out there already voting. But if you don't know about me, I'm just a quick thing about me. I'm a certified master naturalist. I'm a longtime volunteer at the Forest Preserve and many other nature groups. So I care about the environment. I understand science. I believe in science. So I want to support the work that our great people at the Forest Preserve are doing and make sure that we're protecting our lands. Something else that I'm really interested in following is one of our 6 pillars at the Forest Preserve is about inclusivity. We have a lot of people want to see trail improvements. I also want to see trails being connectable for people who don't have cars, get it connecting to public transport to bring people who want to enjoy our forest preserves that may not have an easy way to get to them. So I thank you again for your support. I'll keep it quick, and I appreciate the opportunity to get on here.
Time for another winner. We've drawn a second name for a patriotic face mask, and the winner is David Reynolds. So congratulations to David. Please put your email in the chat and we'll arrange to get it to you. And now we have Kathleen Carrier, who is running for DuPage County Recorder. Kathleen?
Greetings to everybody in Lisle Township. I have met many of you, but I know that there's a lot of people that are new to Lisle Township, so welcome. And my name is Kathleen Carrier. I am running for Recorder of Deeds in DuPage County, and I've lived in DuPage County my entire life and am hoping to earn your vote. I know that a lot of people have already voted, and if you voted for me, thank you. And if you have not yet voted, I will ask you for your vote. The Recorder of Deeds office is a little different from the other positions that you've heard from in that it's rather apolitical. The recorder will never write laws, will never vote on laws, will never adjudicate anything, so it's rather apolitical. So it's an oversight position, and it will be something that will always be there. I might be glitching, I'm sorry. If I am, I apologize. At any rate, I'm a lifelong resident of DuPage County. I grew up here. I raised my family here. They are raising their family, not all of them in DuPage, but in surrounding counties. And I love it here. When I hear people disparage the state or the county, it kind of bothers me a bit, because I think we have a wonderful place to live with wonderful people living here. And thanks to all of you, we are able to push our message forward. As I'm sure many of the other people that have spoken have said, it is paramount. This is paramount that we get the vote out. If you've already voted, that is awesome, but now you have to make sure that everybody you know, your friends, your enemies, everybody you know gets out to vote. So I will end it here, because I know you've got other people or other things that you have to do. So thank you so much for putting this on. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and thank you to everybody that has gotten the word out.
To young people you know in America, it's time to talk about why we're not voting. Here's some of the reasons I hear. I don't want to get jury duty. Stop. No, nothing, no correlation between those two things. You get jury duty whether or not you're registered to vote. I don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. Why not? It's the lesser of two evils. Do you want to vote for the greater of two evils? Because not voting is like half a vote for the greater of two evils. Also, I just did my absentee ballot, and I felt a lot of the times like I was voting for the greater of two goods. It happens. I don't know who or what to vote for. This is a completely acceptable excuse. However, if you care about the world, it's really easy nowadays to do research on the ballot initiatives and candidates on your ballot. Just Google the place where you live and voter information packet or candidates. Do a little research. It'll take like a half hour. Also, don't feel bad for not voting on every single thing on the ballot. Here's something from mine. To change the name of the state auditor to Commissioner of Securities and Insurance. I don't care about that. I don't even know if I'm registered. Allow me to introduce you to canivote.org. It will tell you in like 12 seconds. I'm not registered. 11 states, including California, have same-day voter registration. And even in places that don't, there's still time to register. You can check out how in the links in the description. I don't really care. This is completely acceptable. If you don't care, don't vote. It's like one of the good excuses. Big corporations and millionaires are the only ones who actually decide the outcomes of elections. Big corporations get fewer votes than you do, and millionaires get the exact same number. However, millionaires do disproportionately affect elections because 99% of them vote. If you want proof that millionaires can't buy elections, there it is for you. They go to the polls and they vote because they know that that is the only way people get elected. I can't get to the poll on November 4th. Another completely legitimate reason, and I'm sorry to hear that, and look into absentee voting next. Absentee voting is not something you want to do. I'm just done with this. The gridlock and the bickering and the cynicism. I just don't want to be a part of it. I feel you. I absolutely do. Campaigns these days seem to be more about energizing the base in the form of angering and terrifying them than they are about actually talking about issues or providing information. This tends to turn away more moderate voters, especially young people. But the more moderate voters are the ones that we need to turn this country away from partisanship and gridlock. It's not even a democracy. Oh my God, yes, it is. You know how many democracies there were in the world in 1900? Zero. There was no universal suffrage in the entire world. We could do better in America. It could be more representative. In fact, there are ballot measures in lots of states designed to make it less representative. The only way to make it more representative is to vote. And finally, the one that bugs me the most. You know my vote's not gonna matter. The notion that your vote won't matter because it probably won't be the individual deciding vote in a particular election is a magnificent failure of imagination. If every young person who used this excuse got off their butt and voted one Tuesday every 2 years, they would literally be the deciding voice in thousands of elections. So maybe it's time to do that, to recognize that the power lies with us. That's what democracies are. Make this country better because you can. So you kind of have an obligation to. People born after the year 1980 make up like 30% of the electorate now, but only 21% of people under the age of 24 are expected to vote this election. If you aren't voting, no one is hearing your voice, so they have no reason to represent you. There's only one thing you can do to change that, and it is a very easy thing. Vote. John, I'll see you on Tuesday.
We will wrap up with our third and final winner of our LTDO Patriotic Face Mask. It is Maggie Rubin. So congratulations to Maggie. Please put your email in chat and we'll be in touch. If you didn't win, no problem. Visit ltdo.org to order one. And so here's an example. So these are made by our volunteers through ltdo.org. Let's see, all proceeds help our volunteers get out the vote. Thank you to all of our candidates, and thank you for attending today's virtual town hall from the Lisle Township Democratic Organization. Want to volunteer? Shoot us an email at volunteer@ltdo.org. Need voting information? Put your email and question in the chat. Make a plan and be a voter. Thank you for your vote. If you'd like to hang on after this Zoom meeting is over, we will be helping you with your mail-in vote if you got your ballot in the mail, or if you're still waiting on yours, we can still help you with that and making your voting plan. Thank you very much for watching.